Okay, so if you've ever looked around your apartment and thought, I need some serious nature in here, then you are in the right place. We're going to dive into some super simple but really powerful hacks to completely transform your space. We're talking less stress, better well-being, the whole deal. All right, let's get into it.
I mean, think about it, right? You wake up in a building, you go to work in another building, and then you come home to, yep, another building. It's this feeling of just being totally surrounded by concrete and glass, kind of disconnected. And if that sounds familiar to you, well, you're not imagining it. It's a very real side effect of how a lot of us live today.
And there is a pretty startling reason for that feeling. Get this, the National Institutes of Mental Health found that the average person, we're talking you, me, most of us, spends a staggering 90% of their time indoors. 90%. That huge disconnect from the natural world, it's not just a bummer, it's actually impacting our health, making us more stressed and more tired. So why is spending all that time indoors such a big deal? Well, it turns out our bodies have this deep biological craving for nature, and there's some really cool science that explains exactly why that is. So let's break it down. It really all boils down to this one word, biophilia. It sounds fancy, but it just means love of life. The whole idea is that for literally millions of years, we humans evolved out of nature. So our brains, our bodies, they're basically hardwired to expect trees, sunlight, and other living things. When we don't get that, something just feels off. And this isn't just some vague feeling, you know? A whole wave of new research from 2024 is confirming that when we intentionally design our spaces to include nature, which is what biophilic design is, the benefits are totally measurable. We're talking lower stress levels, better overall health, and you can even think more clearly. The big takeaway here is that this stuff really works. So the second piece of this puzzle is your body's internal clock. Deep inside your brain, there's this little master clock, the SCN, and it controls when you feel awake and when you feel sleepy. The number one thing that sets that clock, it's light. The problem is, our modern world, with all the screens and artificial lights, is just throwing that natural clock completely out of whack. And this is exactly what our bodies are built to expect. You need that bright light in the morning to tell your brain, hey, time to wake up. Then you need consistent light during the day, which then dims down in the evening to get you ready for sleep. And finally, you need real darkness. When we mess with that cycle, we mess with our sleep, our mood, our energy, everything. So the big question is, how do we fix this? Let's jump into our very first hack. And we're going to focus on the two things that give you the most bang for your buck: light and plants. Just how big of a deal is natural light? Well, a study from Northwestern University found that office workers who had windows slept on average 46 minutes more every single night than their coworkers stuck in windowless rooms. That is a huge difference, and it's just from getting a little more daylight. Okay, now for plants. I'm sure you've heard that houseplants are these amazing little air purifiers. That whole idea really took off thanks to this famous NASA study back in 1989 that found they could literally scrub toxins out of the air in a sealed space station. Okay, but here's the reality check. This is the part that a lot of articles just kind of leave out. Newer research has shown that to get the same air cleaning power as just, opening a window, you would need a literal jungle in your apartment. We're talking anywhere from 10 to 1,000 plants per square meter. So let's be real, unless you're actually living in a greenhouse, your pothos isn't really doing much for the air quality. So does that mean you should just toss out all your plants? No, absolutely not, because the psychological benefits are where it's at. Just seeing greenery is proven to lower stress. And the act of caring for a living thing, that creates a powerful sense of connection. That's the real magic right there. And hey, if you're one of those people who swears you have a black thumb, this list is for you. These guys are some of the toughest, most resilient houseplants out there. I mean, snake plants and ZZ plants, they basically thrive on being ignored. You really can't go wrong. Just pick 2 or 3 to get started. So what's the deal with fake plants? Look, real is always going to be better for that true living connection. But let's be realistic here. For a bathroom with no windows or a really high shelf, or especially if you have a pet that likes to chew on things, a good quality fake plant is way, way better than no plant at all. Just do us all a favor and keep it dusted, okay? All right, let's move on to hack number 2. Because biophilic design isn't just about what you see. It's about bringing nature in through all your senses: touch, sight, and even sound. And you can see here just how easy these swaps can be. Our brains are just wired to love materials that come from the earth. Things like wood, stone, cotton, wool. They have this natural, imperfect feel that sterile plastic just can't copy. Even just swapping out one plastic storage bin for a wicker basket can make a whole room feel calmer instantly. And it's the same exact thing with color. And no, you do not have to repaint your entire apartment. These colors are like little signals to our nervous system. Sage green feels like a cool forest. Terracotta feels grounding, like the earth itself. You can bring these in with small things, a throw pillow, a new pot for your plant, a blanket, and they act like these little visual cues to just relax. And we can't forget about sound. There's a reason we find the sound of a bubbling brook so relaxing. It's this deep, primal signal of life and safety. You could get a tiny little tabletop fountain. Or, hey, even just use a Nature Sounds app. When you start layering in all these sensory things, the touch of wood, the sight of green, the sound of water, you're building a space that truly restores you. But I get it, trying to do this all at once can be a lot. I know, this can feel a little overwhelming, so let's just make it super simple. Let's break it all down into a clear, step-by-step action plan you can actually stick to. See? Look how manageable this is when you just take it 1 week at a time. Week 1, your only job is to focus on light. Week 2, you go buy a couple of those unkillable plants we talked about. Then you layer in some texture in week 3, some sound in week 4, and you finish up by really maximizing that natural light in week 5. By just tackling one little thing each week, you can totally transform your space without all the stress. And if you're still wondering if these small changes actually add up to anything, well, the data is crystal clear. Recent studies show that in hospitals, this kind of design actually shortens how long it takes for patients to recover. In schools, it leads to better test scores and fewer kids being absent. So this isn't just a nice idea, it has a profound real-world impact. Which, of course, brings us to the big question. If these principles can have such a huge effect in really high-stress places like hospitals and schools, just imagine what they can do for your own sense of well-being in the place you spend most of your time, your home. So just remember this. This isn't about creating some perfect Instagram-ready apartment. The real goal is connection. It's about finding small, simple, and meaningful ways to bring the natural world back into your daily life, because that is what really matters.